Wow, I think we needed that after the first four. So uplifting. Thank you very much for being here. My name's Miriam Jordan. This is Laura Nix, the director. The stars, Millie and Paul.
Thank you.
So even though the first four films are really about more the current state of immigration in the country, to a large extent, we're going to focus this evening on the last film, the Cha-Cha film, and the experience of Millie and Paul and Laura in making the film. So, I mean, I love this film for several reasons. One, it's a film about the universal story of immigrants, right? People who leave their home countries, not necessarily by choice, to start a new life in a foreign land, having to start from scratch, not knowing the language, having to adapt. But Cha-Cha's about more than immigration, right? It's also a love story, right? A story about aging, and I think it's quintessentially a story about Southern California. I mean, where else in this country would you have Ukrainians teaching Vietnamese and Chinese how to dance? Right? I mean, it reminds me of a story I wrote several years ago about Korean grocery stores where there were Mexican immigrants who learned Korean before they learned English because they were catering to their customers. So anyway, I also feel like Asians are so overlooked. So much of our focus now is on what's going on in the southern border. And I bet most of you don't realize that the fastest growing immigrant group in this country is actually Asian, not Hispanic. Right. You know, 6 out of 10 Asians are immigrants, and only about a third of Hispanics are immigrants. The vast majority are now American-born. Only 6% of Hispanic children were born abroad or in Latin America. So with that, I'm going to turn to Laura and start with some questions about, you know, how and why you decided to make this film. Obviously, this film is so different from the first four. How did it come about?
I've been making this film for 6 years. I discovered their dance studio by accident. I walked in one day and there were 40 Chinese people dancing the tango in the middle of a work day in the afternoon, and I was like, wow, what is this beautiful, magical world? And I wanted to answer that question, so I started taking dance classes there, and I took dance classes there for a year to meet everybody, and that's how we met. And that's also how I met Max and Elena.
Yes.
And it was a process of getting to know each other and asking for permission to film. But that mix of cultures is what I love about Los Angeles, and it's also what I love about America when it's working, is that that's like one of the best things about being here. And so I was really excited to be a part of the series because I felt like it gave me the opportunity to make a story about immigration that's, you know, kind of coming through the side door, not through the front door, but through the side door and through a more personal and subjective lens. Because I think we need that on a topic that is this complex and also so core to our own national identity. You need a 360-degree view. You need every single type of story.
So how often were you visiting this? How often were you visiting the studio? You know, how did you know, you gain their trust?
Well, I was going weekly to dance classes, and when I didn't show up, I remember Paul especially was like, you haven't been coming. Are you serious enough? If you're gonna do this, like, you need to be here like all the time. And have you found a dance teacher yet to do private lessons? Because you can't advance if you don't take private lessons. So how many private lessons are you taking?
Do you believe that?
Because they take a lot of lessons, you know, and that was really a question for me, was to figure that out. Like, why is everyone dancing so seriously? You know, that was.
But at what point did you figure out that you wanted to make a film? Was that right away? I mean, did you go in knowing that there was this, you know, dancing going on in your backyard? that you didn't know about?
I didn't know about it until I found the studio by accident, and
Right.
then once I found it, of course I wanted to make a film about it, but I didn't know what that film would be or what it could look like or how I might do that. And, I just think that we need to be able to see this world. I wanted to be able to share the magic that I saw in that world with other people, because I feel like that story is so unusual, and it gives us a perspective on something else. And we need that story, I think. We need stories like the kind that you're telling, and I read them all the time in the paper about DACA and about the current deportation program, because we need to understand what is happening in this. I think we're living through a humanitarian crisis right now, and I think that we need to be able to know the facts about those stories so that we as citizens can figure out how to change them. But I also feel like we need to be able to tell another story about immigration, which is about what happens afterwards. When people do come into the country, what happens? Your story is really about rebuilding your life and being able to settle down and start families, and that felt like I wanted to be able to tell that in the midst of everything else that's happening. We can't lose sight of this other reality of immigration, which is the life that gets built. Not only stories about point of entry,
Right.
but stories about what happens when people stay and they build their whole life here. And we can't lose sight of that truth at this moment.
So, Paul, this one is for you. I mean, we can't ignore that there were other films before the film about you. So how do you relate to the other films, and how do you place yourself in the context of immigration today, what's going on, and your own personal experience?
I guess the common point is I was in those shoes myself, like 40 years ago. So definitely the current immigration, the previous immigration in my era in the 1980s is similar. We didn't have a choice. We didn't want to leave home if we don't have to, but we were forced to leave home just because one reason or another. The common point here is, in my case, I ran away for freedom, and we ran away for future in life. And so similarly, I think the current immigration people, they do the same thing. They are looking for a better future. Unless they have to, I don't think anybody will abandon their houses just to run away like that. So we have the same thing in common.
Laura, were you looking to do, though, an immigration story per se when you began on this journey? And, I mean, was your intention to use dance as a vehicle? And how did it evolve into a love story as opposed to a more straight-up story? Talk a little bit about that process.
Well, the original idea that I came to both of you with was that I wanted to be able to tell a story about your present, but through the lens of the past. So really tell the story backwards in a way, like look at where you are now, but how your history has kind of inflected the current reality and how it's informed who you are. Because I think 40 years later, being an immigrant is part of who you are, but I also think you define yourself as American now. And
Yes, I am.
yes, and
Very much.
And you define yourself as parents and as professionals and as dancers now. And I wanted to be able to really make a film that honored, the life that you've created and who you've become, and also celebrate this choice that you've made to kind of do this amazing thing right now. I felt like that was really a special thing to be able to do, and in so doing that, it gives me the opportunity to tell another tale about immigration, which is also about resilience and about courage and about hope. And I see that in your dancing, and I see that in your community. I see that in your relationship with your teachers, and in the studio itself. I mean, that's like so much a part of like what we're we're looking at. So it was a while until the love story part came about, and I think that was a matter of, spending years talking and getting to know each other until I finally felt like I earned the right to ask those questions. And
Yes, you have.
it took a while, but I did eventually really want to tell a story about their love story, because that's another thing that's common to the immigration story is love and longing, as well as separation and reunion. And separation and reunion, which is so core to the immigrant experience, is such a key part of your story. And so that's why we eventually decided to do that. I mean, I also thought that the dance is a metaphor for that, right? You see it visually. You see the coming together and the leaving. You see the gestures of longing. It's like the perfect metaphor to be able to do that visually.
Now, Millie, this one's for you. I mean, you get at this somewhat in the film, but yeah, how did you come into dance at this age? And I don't know how old you are, but...
You can tell. Well, most of all, my husband is passionate about dance. And I also found freedom in dance, because the freedom is I can express myself. And I believe every individual like to express themselves, either in writing, in singing, in dance, or in speech, in all forms of art, So I dance, and I think also we dance at the right time. And it seemed like it meant to be that we met my teacher, Max, and Elena. And it seemed like the right time, the right place. And dance to me is really, I found myself, I can fully express myself. And also we do things as a couple. We have the same common.
So we have the common things together,
yeah.
and then we can
So
enjoy life.
We go to the same class. We do the same dance. Probably we spend much more time than before. And even though sometimes we argue about dance, that's why we need teacher.
But did you know that the studio was there and that many years ago, but you didn't have time, you were building your lives?
I never know that studio, but we do. I remember when we first want to dance, Paul want to learn the standard, like ballroom, and we sign up for the community. And one of the friend, I think I fan her, but she is Max student. She said, hey, tomorrow we have a new cha-cha in one of the dance studio. I say, really? We went there, and then we saw Max, and he was so young. He's just like my son age, the same age as my daughter. I say, he looks so young, but he is a very good teacher. And Paul and I, and then after the group class, and Paul walked up to him and say, we want a private lesson. That's how we start.
And how long ago was that?
7 years ago.
7 years ago.
And he bear with us for 7 years.
Wow. And do you compete? Do you compete?
Yes. Our teacher want us to compete.
No, we did, yes.
Pardon?
We did
compete.
We do compete. We did compete once.
I understand there's some big competition coming up in Las Vegas. Are you going to be there?
I want to go to Vegas, but I don't want to gamble there, so I'm just kidding. I have a plan to, maybe doing it once a year.
We compete in
once a year.
Embassy, and also we compete in embassy. That is my teacher.
Right.
My teacher is the biggest dance competition in once a year. And then we also did some small competition like Royal Ball, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Going back a little bit in time, I wanted to ask, I know about your parents. I think they were watching Cantonese
Yes, they did.
television.
Yeah.
So you are Chinese.
Yeah, I'm Chinese, born in Vietnam, studied Chinese until high school. But in the Chinese program, we did learn Vietnamese and Chinese as well. And then when I get to ninth grade, I transferred to study French, and then I came to America. And I learned.
But tell the audience a little bit about how Chinese might have been impacted differently, or in particular, by the northern takeover of Vietnam, you know?
Yeah. The Chinese living in Vietnam, we were basically, even we were born and lived there just like the Vietnamese. I speak Vietnamese just like any Vietnamese, but however, in our society, there's still certain segregation. So there's still a distinction between who you are, Chinese or Vietnamese. So anyway, we lived there, and I think we lived very harmoniously until the day of the loss of Vietnam. So when they came in, basically my parents lost everything. They lost the factory, they lost their business, they lost their factory, they also have a few shipping, things like that. All were lost. We only have one house left. Even that house, at the end, they asked us to offer them. So we have to get away. So in the process, you can see that you start to lose everything. You know, the communists come, they can take anything. One way they can take away from you is they frequently change the currency, the money. And so since the last few years in the last few years, we were there to change money 3 times. Every time you change money, they only give you 200 dong. That's it. You go from a lot to nothing in one day, and then you start to build up, they change currency, you got nothing again. Nobody can live like that. Mm-hmm. And so you really lost hope, and we all have a common belief that we have to live, and then we decide to live.
And share a little bit about your journey, because you went to Taiwan, but then were you boat people?
Yeah, I was one of the boat people. My parents have arranged to me and my brothers to escape in different routes, but a few times was unsuccessfully done. So in the last one, we were really lucky. We put all the money on the table, so we see if we can go, we go together. If we lose, if we unsuccessful, we will lose everything. So that was very scary, really. So the whole family, we were like a bribe to get onto the boat. And so one night we were arranged to sneak to the ocean, to the beach, and we waited for about 2 days until 2 boats came. So we boarded the boat and we left, and we would like to go to Hong Kong because Hong Kong at the time has a refugee camp there. Taiwan doesn't have. This is a Taiwan boat being caught by the Viet Cong. Mm-hmm. And so they were prisoners for I don't know how long, maybe several months. They looked like pirates. And so once they took our house, we signed away the paper and give everything so we can board the boats. And at the moment we saw the captain, we thought that we went on to a pirate ship. They were very scary because they long hair and they look very scary. But eventually we find out they were Chinese and Taiwanese, and so we talked with them, they understood, and we become friendly to each other. We understood, and so instead of going to Hong Kong, we had to go to Taiwan because they don't want to drop us in Hong Kong and go back to Taiwan being treated like what do you call it, human trafficking, things like that. So anyway, that's how we went to Taiwan.
And how did you get to California?
Oh, I see. And then so my aunt was living in America, so she petitioned. She had a I-130 visa for us. So officially for America, we have the immigration paper ready. But for Vietnam, we couldn't get out because there's no official relationship channel between U.S. and Vietnam. But anyway, so we have to escape by boat. So the moment you're on the boat, you know that you give your life. Either you die in the ocean or you make it successfully. Yeah, we did. but many friends did lose their life there in the ocean.
How many of you made it?
Well, in our group, we have 113 people, 2 boats.
And today, where do you live exactly?
We came to America. We stopped by I think we stopped at Honolulu, Hawaii. I think Honolulu, I forgot. But then at the moment our airplane stopped there, temporary. Then the immigration people told us that you guys are not refugee. You really are immigrants, so you have to stay here and get your paper done. But we thought we were refugees, so we can go straight. So we were scared because they detained us. But they detained us just for the fact to help us complete the paperwork to become immigrants right away. So about 7 hours later, we were put on another airplane to fly to California.
And was it your choice to come to California, or was it happenstance?
If it was a choice, it's a really good choice. So I don't complain about that. Here I am. Thank you so much.
Laura, what would you like to say to sum it up? Because we're about to run out of time.
I just noticed that for the first time. There's like a timer. I mean, I guess the first thing I just want to say is how much it means to me that you shared your story with me and that you trusted me to make the film with me. That's doing what I do. That's everything that you have is that trust. It's all about that. It's the only thing that matters. And so I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you. Can I take a moment to thank you, a friend in the audience here?
Please.
I'm more emotional. I came to Los Angeles January 10th. So I lost everything, right? So I have a strong hope to rebuild the life. About like a few days, I met a friend, and I met him. He encouraged me to go to college to continue education, and he referred me to a job in a company called California, which is like behind the Fedco used to be on the La Cienega Boulevard. So a few days, I think it was like sometime during the weekend, he told me that. He said, Paul, you have to go to school. I say, yeah, but, you know, don't we suppose, we used to take French, and shouldn't we have to take an exam so to qualify to get into college? He said, no, you don't have to, and you don't have to wait until you get your 1-year status. Just go and pay some money and do it. So I listened to him, and here I am. I went to school, I graduated, I got a job. Immediately the next week I went there, I get a job. So I haven't said any thank you to that friend. Today I'd like to thank you. And his name is Leung Hong Hui. Can you please stand up? Thank you so much. Hui, where are you? Hui. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you so much. Where are you, please? Where? Don't hide. I know he's here. He's hiding. Can you look around you, see if someone called Leung Hong Hui, please? He's shy. Come on. We're running out of time, Hui. Please come on. I don't have to say that again one more time, please.
It's gone.
Yeah, okay. Anyway.
He's hiding.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's gone.
But thank you so much.
Thank you. Can you?
Yeah, before we end, Laura wants to honor some of the people who worked
want
with
to say
her on the
thank you.
film.
Yes, I first want to thank Max and Elena.
Max,
If I could ask you to stand.
Like,
Thank
They're
you, Max.
backstage.
Please
They're
come out here.
backstage. They're waving. And then, if I could, your families are here.
Yeah,
your parents are here. And could I ask your parents to wave and say hello? Could you ask your parents
Yeah,
to
爸，
say
你可唔可以
hello?
起身啊？起身俾你睇。啊，爸爸，得。
There
Right
they
there, my parents there. Thank you, my parents, for raising us, giving us everything.
And And then I would like to ask everybody who's here who worked on the film, including the incredibly supportive people from Concordia, to just say hello and stand up. All of you brilliant people who worked on the movie. And then finally, I'd like to, all the students who were in the class that you saw at the beginning of the film, and all the people who are here from Lili came out tonight, hundreds of you, and I love you. And could I ask everybody from the Lili community to stand? Stand, please. Stand!
Can you
Yeah.
Thank you, my teachers too. Very lovely.
Ask them to dance.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, time for questions from the audience.
And please stay for questions, Max and Elena. You come back here.
Questions can be about any of the films, although we're not sure we're qualified to answer specific questions, but issues surrounding the films or a game. Any questions? Please stand up to the mic.
Can you come to the microphone?
mic on either side
Can you
of
come to the
aisle,
microphone?
please.
And how did the Ukrainian get to become the teacher and teach the Chinese in America here?
Yes, so that's actually a very good question. We actually find out about Lili also by accident. We park our car at the parking lot, Lili's parking lot, and we didn't even know that it's a dance studio. Then, when we came back to get into the car, we just heard the loud music. And we just stopped by and kind of like just take a look, and we saw, like Laura said, a lot of Chinese people
dancing at
just
like
dancing
3
during-
p.m. in the
3 p.m.
Yeah, and the owner of the studio, Yvonne, she's not with us anymore. She recently passed away, but she just basically jumped on us and she asked us if we can open up the class here, because at that time they didn't have any Latin teachers. So yeah, she just asked us to work there, and we opened the class, and that's
I believe is in 2010 or 11. right?
11.
2011, yes.
Yeah, one of the reasons we like a Max class a lot is like about a year before meeting Max, I took a lesson at one of the community center, but it's so hard to learn from someone who doesn't know how to teach in a well thought structured process until we met Max. So then the learning the dancing became so easy because everything is broken in process, very easy to learn. That's their the best.
Thank you, Paul.
Question for Laura. I'm wondering about the first section of interviews where you have where the sound wasn't synced up and we were seeing it inside the house. I just wanted you to talk about the choice behind that, and also if you, why did you do that and how it works with the film.
So a lot of people ask me, so why didn't you decide to show any of that on-camera interview? Why you didn't show any of them on camera? You only used the audio from it. And the truth is that I never shot an on-camera interview. All the interviews that I did with Paul and Millie were audio only. And I found that that was the way that I could just hear more intimate stories, and it gave us more time to spend together, and I find that on-camera interviews, I've done many of them in my life, and there's a kind of pressure that comes with them oftentimes, and I think that I was able to hear your stories because we just had more time to spend together, and we didn't have the pressure of the camera. And I was also filming some portraits of them, and I just kept the camera rolling. Shauna Hagen, who's here, amazing DP, was shooting that, and we kept the camera rolling during all the portraits. And then my editor, Alex Utalainen, also here, we were just experimenting with that, and we realized that there was something really interesting to be found in the in-between spaces, and it gives you time to really look at their faces, and I just found it to be very intimate in a way that was very interesting to me, and it was really a discovery that happened in editorial.
I agree with Laura. That's the best way. I love it, the way that you interview us is make it so easy for us.
Any other questions about anything related to what we saw tonight?
Hello, this question's for Laura. Where does this film go from here? Is it going to be shown in other theaters, or is it going to, people going to be able to know about it other than today?
Thank you so much for asking that question, and I have some answers for you. So the film is going to be shown at the Laemmle Pasadena for a week, starting the 21st. So it'll be there the 21st through the 27th at 1:10 p.m. every day, showing once a day. So you can tell your friends if they want to see it projected, like we've seen it here. And then it will be released, I'm hoping sometime in July, maybe on the New York Times OpDocs website as a part of the series. So 3 of the shorts that you saw tonight are already online. And then Darling will come out, and then this one will come out, and they'll all be on New York Times OpDocs. And so we hope that you can, if you enjoyed the films tonight, that you can share that with your networks.
What was the film's production budget, and also how long was the timeline? In terms of pre-production and production and editing, could you talk more about that, putting it together? Thanks.
I would say the budget is modest. I don't really reveal budgets publicly like that, but I can say it's a modest budget, but we did get some, there was a lot of in-kind contributions, and then a lot of people who came in the end, particularly for the music clearance. That was incredibly helpful because that was very difficult to pull off. The production time is hard to say because I've been filming it for so long. So there's some material that is in the film that I shot 5 years ago, and then there's a lot of footage that I shot more recently. The stage dance sequence at the end was shot specifically for this short. And the feature-length version of the film, when I complete it, will have several of those kind of set pieces with the story interwoven throughout it. But I'd say from the time I began pre-production, which was in the summer, and then we finished it a few months ago.
Okay, everybody, that was our last question. I've been told to wrap up. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What da do da da do da da do.